The point is, it was set up by In-Q-Tel, set up by CIA 13 years ago. Do you really think it just came from nowhere and took everything over? Do you really think it's allowed to violate copyright when no one else is? Do you really think it can get away with anything it wants? It's meant to create market dominance. It's a front group. And Schmidt says, well, you shouldn't do anything that you don't want seen in the public on Google, which they use to then break into your computer. They hack your computer, even if you don't want Google, and even if you block their cookies, they don't care. That's come out. Because these are government operatives. Google engineers knew for 2 years that the company's Street View cards were stealing emails and passwords via Wi-Fi, and the government's now dropped its Street View investigation. There's the Sydney Morning Herald. Google aware of data scoop. Now, guess since this came out what they've announced. The post office is going to have these now. They're just going to go directly to government vehicles, driving around, providing Wi-Fi. Oh, because the government wants you to have free Wi-Fi, but also selling a higher grade service to whoever. So you're on government networks. And they say they're going to be grabbing your passwords and stuff, which then destroys security, and then they sell biometric IDs to get online. Again, they wreck the system, they offer the solution, and that's already happening. So here it is, stealing your email and passwords via Wi-Fi. Isn't that just special? So the government can break into your computers whenever they want. Because it isn't the government. See, Google isn't a private company. It's a government front, but the government it's a front for is a private banking mafia. That's why it came out the Federal Reserve private banks are surveilling Occupy Wall Street. They mean the real arm of it they don't control, not the arm they control calling for communism. Here's another one. Google staff said they were unaware of data gathering, FCC says. But here's the kicker, the rest of the story. Why is Murdoch in trouble, but Google isn't?
You don't need me to tell you that humanity is in a deep...
Okay, first-time callers, ladies and gentlemen, until we get Bruce Fein on in the third hour, then it'll be free-for-all. 800-259-9231, 1-800-259-9231, and I'll start going to your calls right before we go to break in this segment. But let me just stop right there and, again, recap this news. The federal government, what's left of it, started an investigation of Google 2 years ago on Street View. They've since dropped it. But the findings of it have come out, and their own people who would not perjure themselves before Congress came out and said, yeah, Google is watching and listening and dialing into your phone and dialing into your computer, as Google said 6 years ago in a press release to their shareholders. See, the criminals that run the government create a private company with technology, your taxpayer money, paid for to be developed at universities and other institutions through DARPA. They take it, they create and make it a public NSA snoop system over public data on the web, get everybody to opt into it, and then make hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and still hundreds of billions of dollars. Last time I checked, what is the net worth of Google? Heck, look that up for me. That's a nice factoid. You know. Oh, by the way, I have something that also dovetails with this. Now, here's a report from AFP. Apple avoiding billions in global taxes, report claims. Oh, yeah, here in Austin, they're going to be tax-free. Oh, in towns where they've just got a few employees, tax-free. Because the city managers know to immediately do that, and they move up the chain of command as enemy operatives. Oh, but Al Gore's on the board. He says our taxes need to be raised. If you make $125,000 a year, then because you're rich, it needs to be raised. They're exempt. Now, the net worth of Apple is must be in the aggregate close to $1 trillion. Yeah, no. That's incorrect. It's not 1.5 billion. Their executives make billions. The stock of it, it's the biggest company in the world now, off and on with Apple and ExxonMobil. Okay, I'll look it up during the break. It's all right. Anyways, and of course it fluctuates day to day. Last time I checked, I think it is approaching in assets well over $1 trillion. And that's not counting everything leveraged. But then you get into what the real power structure. And then you've got, on top of that, you got the big mega banks that have hundreds of trillions of dollars a month in dollars globally, just in the currency speculating markets. And you've got 1.5 quadrillion and growing globally. That's a 2-year-old number. 1,500 trillion in fake garbage derivatives they created that they've had the trader governments sign on to. But I'm already digressing. The point is, Bloomberg, Google, well, here's Washington Post. Google engineer told officials Street View cars were collecting personal data, FCC report says, including, well, everything. Everything. Email passwords, banking passwords, usernames, everything. But don't worry, they've, for now, dropped the Street View investigation and fined them $25,000. Boy, that'll really make them stop. That'd be like if you robbed a bank of $100 billion and they said, now you've got to pay me $500 or something. Now, are you going to rob banks again? No, sir. I will never do that again. And they just do this to make it look like the government's actually out there doing the right thing. Data harvesting at Google, not a rogue act, report finds New York Times. Meanwhile, Rupert Murdoch, his son may be indicted in England. They're talking about indicting members of News Corps here in the U.S. The Justice Department, the people that ship guns into Mexico and drugs back into the U.S. and hand grenades into Mexico, that's AP CBS last week. We reported on it 6 months ago, but they reported it, so now it's real. They're not in trouble over the Justice Department, but Rupert Murdoch is. Just thought I'd point that out. Here it is, CBS News. Republicans prepare contempt citation against Holder over Fast and Furious. Of course, you know, Breitbart said he was going to release Obama at communist meetings. They never released that video. They released some watered-down stuff. But, hey, his coroner did get poisoned and die, but they're saying people get poisoned all the time and die. Maybe it was an accident. So there's nothing suspicious about that. And we got a bunch of other news, but your phone calls are coming up. We've also got news on the economy.
We're on the march. The empires.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen, and going to your phone calls. Again, let me just mention some more of the news that's coming up. Great news out of Arizona. Anti-Agenda 21 bill up for passage in House Monday. Tennessee did pass their anti-agenda resolution explaining they're not going to go under the globalist treaty, and they're not going to allow it to be implemented by local cities by stealth. It is the state legislature that is in control of the cities. Remember, all a city is an incorporated system that agrees to follow state laws. These mayors and people that are selling out to the UN, and that's the official UN strategy that Schwarzenegger talked about at the Copenhagen thing 2.5 years ago. He said, well, we can't get it passed. You can read the quotes in USA Today. We can't get it through at the federal level. Obama will use the executive. I will head up working with the local cities, and we will get the job done. Ha, ha, ha. What a criminal. Continuing, Agenda 21, Arizona, close to passing anti-UN sustainability bill. That's out of MSNBC. They're pulling their hair out. America's waking up. We've got CNN demonizing a deadly combination, guns and stand your ground, trying to get rid of that Second Amendment power. You've always had the right to stand your ground if somebody's trying to assault you, because that's the best defense is an offense. I mean, I'll tell you this, I got a gun and somebody's charging me with a knife. I'm not going to run from them or I'm out of breath and stumble and they stab me. I'm going to get out there in a stance and fire right into their center of mass. And if it's a crook with body armor, I'm going to shoot him in the head. It's real simple. Anyways, I'm going to be getting into those reports. Very good news on that front. More on Google spying. The incredible news. This is good news. I hope it's not just show. Republicans prepare a contempt citation against Holder over Fast and Furious. Another good news article, New York Times, trying to stay in the game, actually tells the truth. Terrorist plots hatched by the FBI, admits almost every event. They've actually manufactured and commanded them. Not infiltrating, but actually creating the groups and finding mentally ill people. See, it's one thing to do a sting, but you do it with mentally ill or low-grade morons, people that are barely, I mean, they're in the low-grade moron, 75, 80 IQ range. And that's who they look for. I mean, how do you go find some mentally retarded person who's got a 75 IQ and set them up? I mean, I've seen clips of these people in court. They're like, they don't even know where they are. I mean, that is so evil. But I guess these are just reprobates. They want to move up the chain of command. And I actually had to thank the feds. It's better than actually blowing up the World Trade Centers like they did before in Oklahoma City and Gulf of Tonkin and stuff. I mean, at least you're just making it up and burning one person or two or three. So I guess you're power grabbing in a little more loving way. You're just setting up innocent people or mentally ill people. And it is better than what you usually do, so. But, you know, they like to do the more low-tech stuff because they get caught when they do the big boom-booms. Here's another one. Breitbart's coroner, poisoned to death. That's what the police say. But, hey, you know, everything's fine. Everything's fine. He was about to release the final report. Scientists call for rethink on consumption, population. That's Reuters, population reduction. Here it is, Scientific American. Royal Society calls for redistribution of wealth and more birth control. And, of course, the royal family's calling for that. They get a big welfare check of over $1 billion a year to heat their hundreds of homes and palaces. I mean, some palaces have got more than 100 different homes on them. Oh, you haven't looked that up? Yeah, that's welfare. Old ladies don't get heat and are told not to take hot baths. Prince Charles actually said that 2 years ago. He said, don't take a hot shower, to be technical. And but he's got trains and a bunch of aircraft. But that's how it works. It's for the earth. You die, and he sits there and is a big fat slug. And Robert Redford has a new movie coming out about how Prince Charles is like Jesus, literally. And they've erected statues to him in Brazil saying he's God. Oh, you don't believe me? I'm sorry. An angel protecting Brazil. A golden statue. Guys, will you show the golden statue in Brazil? Just type in golden statue of Prince Charles in Brazil, where he's an angel. Oh, just such a little angel. So is Ted Turner, who says that we're useful feeders and 90% of us need to be killed at a press dinner, what, in 95 or 94, was it? Very nice man. Of course, he has 5 children, biggest landowner in the U.S. and giant aircraft and yachts. But you see, you're supposed to die, not him. Let me explain how that works for Ted Turner. Okay, let's continue here. Everything's okay, though. You can buy your way to heaven. The Catholic Church brings back indulgences. This is a daily finance. And, of course, that's when they wanted to build St. Peter's Basilica, they call it. I guess it was 500 years ago or so. It was basically, hey, tithe, give extra money, and your family won't go to hell. And that got criticized by people in the Catholic Church, not just without. But listen, I got to say this. Why is the liberal media, so-called liberal media, the eugenics media, making fun of the Catholic Church doing this to raise money because they're going bankrupt from lawsuits and things, when they say pay Al Gore money, Lord Rothschild money? I mean, I see it. People have stickers in Austin saying they pay a carbon tax to Al Gore's company. It's the name of his company. They pay money to drive a car. They're just, oh, here's money, Al Gore. So you can have, 5 houses, some of them, 20,000 square feet, whatever. Right on the beach, because it was supposed to be underwater by now, but the level's actually dropping. So, yeah, I think it's stupid to pay Al Gore money to get out of Hades or purgatory. I think it's, but again, Baptist Church, I'll tell you, you're going to go to hell if you don't tithe 10%. And I'm all for charity. I like to give money to children's groups, real groups I know that are actually helping children. And I like to give money, even though they're not perfect, to the Salvation Army. But about 90% of the money you give actually gets to them. But again, they want to tell you, no, you give your money to the church so the preacher can ride around like a glitter bug all day and go fishing all day. So he can sit up there and tell you that Romans 13 worship the government. Let me tell you, if I could find a church that would speak out against the New World Order and speak out for liberty and tell their flock to get on the street and confront evil, and there are some of those. I've given some money to some pro-life groups. If I could find one locally, I would give them money. I would give them 10%. But, I mean, I can't find them. I go to churches, and I